What is good, everyone? It's your girl, Alicia B, and you're now in the place to be. Welcome to the Lituation room. Yes. And this is probably going to be my favorite episode of the season. I just feel it. I feel like it is. At least top three. We'll give it top three. Because this is going to be the end of the year wrap up. You know, Apple, Spotify, Tidal has been giving us what they think we've been listening to, you know, giving their input, their analytics, but I feel like they didn't hit it on the nail like they could have. So I brought I feel like I'm not even on the same level of music caliber as her, so I'm not even gonna do that, but I brought the music connoisseur to be on this episode with me. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself real quick.
Oh, thank you so much, Alicia, for the intro. I'm Eboni Ellis, and I am, like she said, a music connoisseur. My profession in music is I do marketing and live events, but I also make a lot of playlists. I'm a living room DJ. Music has been my life ever since I was a kid. So, you know, I've been working and hustling in the industry from labels to festivals to agencies ever since I was like 19. So that's me, Eboni. And I'm excited to be here today discussing our favorite music of 2020, which has been a crazy year, but the music definitely held us down. So super blessed and just happy to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, thank you. And like she said, I feel like the only reason why 2020 has even continued on the way that it has is because music has been helping me. And I know that music helps me every year, but no, this year was needed. So shout out to everybody who has put out music this year. Even if we don't mention your name or mention your favorite artist, we still are hearing it and respecting it. But you know, this is what we feel like hit the nail for 2020. So I feel like we should obviously leave best artist and best album for the absolute end. So we'll skip those. But I feel like the first thing that we could talk about is best debut, because I feel like that's a good way to like start it. And because we have the same answer for this, so you can go ahead and go and start with that one.
Okay, so in my opinion, I feel like the artist that had the strongest debut this year was Giveon. I feel like out of the artists that I know about that kind of came out in 2020 and really hit it off, like he was the one that stuck with me the most and had the biggest impact, in my opinion. We definitely know Chicago Freestyle kind of gave him a great cosign coming out the gate. And I would say, you know, a Drake cosign is, you know,
iconic, right?
So everything worked out as it should. But, you know, just an all around really great music that came out from Giveon this year. Like I Want To is probably my favorite song from him. Like I Want You. But when it's all said and done, that EP was just phenomenal. So he gets my vote for the best debut of 2020.
Yes. In similar fashion, and mine is Giveon as well. I mean, when I first heard his voice, I said, it's so different from what is right now. He embraced his baritone vocals, and not a lot of artists would have done that. And besides a Drake cosign, he also got a Brandy cosign. And if Brandy's co-signing you, I think that you're the shit.
Right. And didn't he have no Allegra feature?
Sure did.
He did. So that's another great, you know, feature just to have, because she's doing amazing things in R&B. So I'm really excited for everything, you know, he has from here on out. But he has to get his flowers for 2020. So
because for an 8-track EP, it was phenomenal. And I think my favorite song on it is Favorite Mistake. I think Favorite Mistake is so beautiful.
That's the deep one.
I feel like as a man putting that song out, I said, yes, this is what I needed. So I love that. I love it. If you haven't listened to Giveon, what are you doing? Let's get it together. Let's go listen. Like, let's get it. So those would probably be the 3 songs that I would tell you to go listen to if you haven't listened to them already. And I think my honorable mention would be Flo Milli. Flo Milli came out the gate with heat. From her blowing up on TikTok to taking that pop and bringing it to her music and taking charge of her
Right.
team and how they're working together. Like, I mean, doesn't the girl have a Beats advertisement right now? Like, she's killing it.
She's doing amazing. And like her debut was actually really strong and like kind of unlike Giveon. Like I knew about Flo Milli for almost like a year prior to her debut because of the Beef mix
Mm-hmm.
and you know some of the other songs. But like she really did put out a nice cohesive project. Like it felt so complete. It felt like it was something she and her team have been working on and really wanted to give us. So I really did appreciate that from Flo Milli as well. And like of course, like so many bops, you know, like May I and the
May
party. I love May I. And like she's just so fun and
yeah,
little like nursery rhyme, like rap, you know, flow that she does, it really fits her so well. And I'm glad that she was able to kind of find her pocket because it's different. And honestly, everybody isn't doing that, you know, type of rhyming. So she does stand out to me. And there has been some other women artists that have, you know, had similar flows, but I think she's the one that has kind of just embodied it.
yeah.
I have to give, you know, a shout out to my chocolate sister because she is killing it and I absolutely am a stan. So yes, to Flo Milli.
I love
Yeah.
that. That is my favorite song off the project is May I. Like I didn't realize how good, because typically what I do is I go down the track list before I listen to it and like go over the titles. And I was like, May I is probably gonna be so childish. It's probably gonna be so childish. And it wasn't. It was
Crazy.
I kick a little note for the trees. And okay, let me stop because I'm not Flo Milli.
She went crazy.
She did. Okay. So I think the best thing, since we talked about features, would probably be best feature of the year.
Okay, so this is something I had to write down because I went to go listen because when I like first saw the questions, I didn't know who to choose. Yeah. Of course, JT came up first, and I was just like, she had a dope feature for Said Some remix.
So, I mean, the song's only like 34 seconds.
Right. I mean, but she just came in and killed it. Like, you know, like she kind of stole the show there and she looked amazing in the video. So I'm gonna give a shout out to JT for that remix. So some of the others that I, you know, thought about was definitely Savage remix with the Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter.
Yes.
That probably is my number one because it was just like, we weren't doing anything. Like, I don't know. I think that came out maybe like April, May. Like, don't quote me, but that was like a really hard time for a lot of people. And we were, you know, in the house on quarantine. So when that Beyonce remix came out, and it just shook up the internet. Like, people were like, oh my God, I want to be outside right now. Like, it totally, like, I remember it making my day. And like all my friends and I were just like talking about it, like, oh my God, like we belong in a section right now. Like, you know, it made me like happy, but also just kind of sad that I couldn't turn up to it in the way that I wanted to. But I think, and just in terms of feature, like we said, like having a Drake co-sign for Giveon, like Meg got the Beyonce feature. We know they were cool, you know, the Houston connection, but like having a Beyonce feature so early in your catalog, even before she technically put out her debut as well.
Right.
It's super impressive. And it's an amazing remix. Like, it's not something that's like, you know, like just a little addition to the song.
Right,
like,
it's
extra
like
Beyonce came and like did what she had to do. So that has to be my favorite remix of the year. Of course, I'm, you know, biased. You know, I am a member of the Beehive, obviously. But it's just like, I regardless, like that was just an amazing feature. I'm gonna also have to say Laugh Now, Cry Later, Lil Durk. I love that song and video. It like is just a super feel good song. Came out on my birthday weekend, so that was like kind of like the turn up anthem of my birthday the weekend this year. But like, I think that was a really strong feature for Durk. It was just super lighthearted and like, I don't know, like I just loved. I see a lot of growth in Durk specifically. So I feel like, again, we keep bouncing back to Drake, but him having that Drake feature in that moment, like the video just seemed super fun. And it was just like, okay, he's at a different point of his career where he's reaping a lot of, you know, the benefits that he's, you know, his hard work is paying off basically. He's been in the game for a minute. So that was definitely one of my other favorite features. And I'm gonna give two more. I'm going to definitely say, I really like Doja Cat on the Pussy Talk remix, just to keep it woman, you know, because the lady's been doing it this year. But I love Doja, like the way she came in on that verse.
Mm-hmm.
This is talented, and you know, like I like Doja Cat. I'm a Doja Cat fan. Again, Doja Cat is another artist that I've been listening to since like 2015. So like, she's had a lot of success as of lately, but she's been out for a while, and she's reaping the benefits of her hard work as well. But whatever Doja Cat touches, she uniquely makes it hers, and that's why I appreciate her so much. So shout out to Doja. And then I would have to say underrated, I would say feature of this year is Don't Look Over Your Shoulder, excuse me, from the Kendrick, Busta Rhymes. It's from Busta Rhymes album, but Kendrick's feature on that song, Don't Look Over Your Shoulder.
Okay.
And it's like, it's a sample of like Michael Jackson saying, "Don't look over your shoulder, honey." I think it's on I'll Be There. So it's like a really dope sample. And then Kendrick came in and murdered that shit. But like Busta Rhymes album was also another really big, I would say like high musically for me in 2020. So we can get to that later. But I know a lot of people probably didn't give it a chance if they're not a fan of Busta.
I completely forgot that there's so much music comes out that I completely forgot about Busta Rhymes album.
So I would definitely go take a look at Busta's album, but like that Don't Look Over Your Shoulder with Kendrick is a banger. So that has to be my other favorite feature of this year.
So for me, I definitely want to say Savage Remix, and purely off of the fact that not just because it was Beyonce, but because of the fact that it was two H-Town people coming together for H-Town.
Right.
And then it's also the fact that it's an actual remix. Like, I hate when remixes are just an extra little verse. And that's it. That's the only thing. At that point, just say that it's that song 2.0. Like, don't say it's remix. Like,
right. Because the era we grew up in, the remix was like a whole different song.
A whole different song.
So that's what I really look for out of a lot of remixes, especially if the feature or whoever is on the remix is huge.
It's strong, right.
They're about to, you know, bring a whole new flavor. And I'm like, okay, this is just what we already got with a couple extra verses. So I was really appreciative of the Savage remix for that reason.
So good. So good. But my actual favorite remix of the year, and this is because y'all already know, like if y'all listen to the podcast, y'all know who my wife is and that I stand for this woman. I think that Change Your Life featuring Janae Aiko, the Kehlani song, was so good. I think, one, that the album was great, but this particular song on the album, I think, was so good because they haven't collabed ever. So this was the first collaboration that they had. So I
didn't realize that either.
Right. So I was very particular on it because they have very similar messages in their music. So, but different ways of executing it. So I was really scared on how it was going to merge together. But I think that both Kehlani and Janae have a beautiful way of merging whatever they need to merge with whatever song. Because I mean, Janae killed it on Sweetie's Back to the Streets. And I wouldn't have expected that from Janae. Right. But I feel like they are able to bring their style and blend it with someone else's. So I really think that that was a very good song. And I think that that was probably my top 10 on Apple from what I'm seeing. So
I have one more that was probably in my top. BS, Janae, and her.
When hers verse alone.
Through it. You the only one that's get me through. No, I love her. I'm a her stan. Like, we gonna get to her later because she's like on my R&B, you know, top for the year. But Janae's album was really strong, and we're gonna get to that later too. But you just reminded me, like, she had a really, really good feature from her and from Nas as well. So
yes, Nas. Mm-hmm. Was it 300 hours?
10K hours.
10K hours. Yeah. I
So
forgot about that Nas feature. Sheesh.
I love Janae's album. It was so good. But yeah, so
So good.
I have to maybe even dedicate like a whole 5 minutes to talking about her album.
We can talk about her album because I don't.
So I just had to throw that out there as far as features go. Oh, and commercial with Little Uzi and Baby. I love that song. And Little Uzi had a dope feature.
He did.
On commercial, yeah.
I think we should do best quarantine release next. Okay. I think that was really important. I mean, we still technically in quarantine, but I mean releases that happened when there could be no rollout, no push, no nothing. And I think that I'm gonna be a broken record. I promise you, this is gonna be my last time mentioning her. But I think that the reason why I'm picking Kehlani is not because I love her. It's because of watching her interviews of how her label was like, yeah, we might not be able to put this album out. And she was like, no, we're going to figure this out. And I'll do everything myself. Like she figured out how to film her own music videos. She figured out what her own rollout was going to be for the album. And I mean, I believe that her label kind of helped, but most of it was her and her team, like her immediate team, getting together at her house, quarantining together and figuring it out. So every music video that's come out for this project has been shot by Honey Shot Productions, which is her production company that she literally made purely to make these music videos. And I think coming off of the, music news of her and YG situation, this was really good for her so that people wouldn't think about that any longer. They took her for her artistry. So I think that one thing that I can commend her for is taking her situation and making it better. And I think that's what a lot of artists ended up doing this year. So I just respect her and want to say that she was the best release purely off of the fact that she took her rollout and made it actually happen, because her album wasn't even going to come out because of quarantine.
No, that's a really good point. I definitely feel that. I will also say, to me, I have to give Chloe and Halle their props for their quarantine release, because I just think that, they really had the internet videos and the live stream videos and performances.
That tennis court was blessed, child.
Yes, like the Do It, like all those videos, like the little dance, like that reminds me of quarantine. I just remember when their album came out, it was like June, it was like summer, places where it was like phases, 2 and 3, whatever, places was reopening. So it was like, okay, like streets back open a little, we having fun. But I just think it was an overall really, really good rollout for Chloe and Halle. And like, they're not new artists either.
Right.
But this is the most, I would say, mature since we've seen them in. And like, they've kind of stepped into their womanhood and like, we're seeing a different side of them. Like, so that's something that I think was also very successfully portrayed by this album rollout. Is like, they're not, they are Beyonce's proteges, but they're not the little singing girls that we've seen. Like, these are like young women. These are like actual artists. These are like two super talented and beautiful women, like on their own separate accords, that are just making dope music. And I personally love that album. When I think about, oh my gosh, I don't even know why I'm blanking.
I'm so excited that when she,
Forgive Me.
Forgive Me, so good.
That song is everything to me. Like, literally, like, when the beat drops and I'm like, okay, Chloe, Halle, I did not expect this. But like, we can dedicate another 5 minutes to talking about this album. But to me, I think they had the best quarantine release, and I think they had the most memorable that we're going to be talking about from years on.
I agree. Like I said, that tennis court was blessed. Every performance that they did was amazing. Like, I don't know who helped them direct or whether they came up with their treatments for their performances or anything, but their performances are always good. And you're never going to hear the same arrangement or rendition of the song. And like, every performance is a different rendition of whatever song they're doing. And their Tiny Desk home concert, if you haven't heard it, I need you to go check that out. They're Grammy nominated for a reason. We're just going to keep it there.
Talk about it, So all love to Chloe and Halle. Like, absolutely love everything that they're doing. I am a stan, you know, so I'm going up for them as
Oh
best
yeah.
of this
Oh
during quarantine.
yes. Let's do best underground artist of the year.
Underground, an artist that kind of jumps out to me that I got into this year was Bree Runway.
Love Bree One Way, and no one knows her. Oh my
I
god.
don't really even know if she's considered underground,
Yeah,
but
what I consider underground, because I don't like the word underground, but it's the most understandable word to put it. It's just someone who isn't on mainstream radio as of current. And right now in the US, Bree Runway is not on main.
exactly. So Bree Runway is one of those artists that this year I was really into their music, and she's just a different vibe, especially for, you know, like a Black girl in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in pop culture, like she does her own thing. And of course, we know ATM with Missy Elliott was a huge song. So I don't know how a lot of people missed that moment. But it was just, no, seriously. But it was just like really cool to see, you know, two different, you know, women in hip hop, especially someone like Missy, like kind of reaching back into our generation and like kind of like, you know, having a full circle moment. Because Bree Runway, like Missy, is very like loud, eclectic, like, you know, where they're both dark skinned, like, you know, like both super like visual artists.
Yeah.
So I definitely saw that connection there. So I'll say Bree Runway is one of the most underrated artists of this year. I'll also have to say Cleo Sol. I personally listen to her album every day. She is an R&B artist. Her album, I don't even know why I don't. I think it's When I'm in Your Arms. Rose in the Dark is the name of the album. When I'm in Your Arms is my favorite song. Rose in the Dark is also a title track on the album that's really good. But like the whole album is a vibe. It's like super like easygoing, like classic R&B, like even has some soul elements in there. And she kind of reminds me of Snow Allegra, but I don't want to compare them too closely because they definitely have their own sounds, in my opinion. But just an all around really dope project. It came out this year in March, like right the week after we were on lockdown. So I got hip to it through actually the Joe Budden podcast, because I listen to them sometimes. They have really good conversations about music, just kind of like how we're having, and playing her. And then I've been hooked ever since like March or April. So Cleo Sol for Rose in the Dark. She also gets my vote for best underground artist this year, or, you know, just an artist that people weren't really hip to or whatever. So
I'm definitely gonna have to listen to her because I don't even know.
I put so many people onto her. Like people be DMing me on Twitter, like, "Oh my God, I saw you talking about this chick. Like she's actually hard." I'm like, yeah, like, you know, like I'm not going up for nobody whose music is whack, but like she actually has a phenomenal sound. Like she's somebody I want to see live if and whenever, like, you know, live music is back. But I can imagine she would have a really amazing live set. So check out Cleo Sol, everybody.
I think mine, she's not a new artist by any means necessary, but mine is Tiana Major 9. And it's just really disrespectful how nobody knows Tiana Major 9. Because I've been hip to her for a few years now, but I think that the biggest thing that I've seen people kind of know her from is, this came out in 2019, but don't worry about it. I'm just giving you background. It was the Queen and Slim soundtrack. She did the Collide song. And it was so good. The one thing that I love about Queen and Slim off track, their soundtrack, fire.
It was amazing.
And I think that that's when people started to kind of know who Tiana Major 9 is. But that's not good enough for me. It's never good enough for me. So no. But she just put out a project. It's called At 6 and 7, 6s and 7. It came out this year. And I think my favorite song, which the Collide song is also on there as well. But I think that my favorite song is Same Space. And it's because it's literally talking about how can we grow if we're still in the same space. So it's kind of like you want to leave this relationship, but you literally can't because you're so in love with them. But at the same time, this can't get any better if we're staying in the same mindset.
Right.
So I just love it. I hate comparing people, but just for that sake, I'm going to say that she has been quoted to be similar to Jasmine Sullivan vibes. She has a very deep, soulful, raspy voice. So if you are into that,
Absolutely.
that is the space that you want to be in. I would say go with her. Also, the Collide song has Earth Gang on it. So if you really fuck with Earth Gang.
That's what I was just about to say.
Which Earth Gang on its own, it's a whole nother situation later, because that's a part of the album situation. But I think that if you really love Jasmine Sullivan, which Jasmine Sullivan has been doing so well this year.
Yes, I have to.
I think that.
Did we talk about singles, like our favorite singles?
That's exactly what I was gonna talk about next after this one. But yeah, if you love Jasmine Sullivan or just that vibe of music, I would say Tiana Major 9 is great for you. She is on Universal Music and she's British and she's great. And that's all I have to say on that. So let's just move on to the best singles, because I'm sorry, Jasmine Sullivan is taking that.
Cleared. I will also say I'm a huge Baby Keem fan.
Okay.
Keem put out some fire singles.
Yeah.
Like Fire, and of course Drake, Laugh Now, Cry Later was
right.
So
I'm sorry, that Pick Up Your Feelings live performance that she did.
Yes, and I love the marketing, or at least like the album artwork and just kind of like the marketing feel of Jasmine's new music. It feels a little more fun for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like she's taking back her reins of control of music. And I'm very excited to see this project that's dropping in January. I wish it had dropped now so that we're able to talk about it, but I'm so excited.
I am so excited. Like, I love Jasmine Sullivan, and like I'm a true R&B head. Like, especially now, like I listen to a lot of hip hop. Hip hop is my first love, but R&B like really keeps me grounded. So Jasmine Sullivan is just one of those artists that is just like, nobody's touching her in my opinion. Even if we're talking about the new R&B girls, like whoever's out now, I'm just like, but Jasmine Sullivan, like let's never forget Jasmine.
Never.
That's just disrespectful. So I'm just really excited because she hasn't put out an album since like 2015. So it's going on 5 years. I am starving for some Jasmine Sullivan.
I have listened to Reality Show, Love Me Back.
Reality Show was insane. Like,
sorry, Mascara alone.
I don't even know how to put into words how amazing Reality Show was. And that was literally going to be my point. Like, following up Reality Show is just going to like have everyone so excited, and I know she's going to deliver. So like,
she's already delivered, in my opinion.
Already delivered, right?
That she's dropped. So I'm just like, I'm gonna have to prepare my spirit and like really sit with a glass of wine, and I can't do nothing for the whole day because I just know I'm not gonna be emotionally available for people. So I feel like Jasmine's just really gonna like eat me for shreds.
And it's gonna be one of those days where it's just like, don't talk to me. Like, new music is out,
and that's really how it be though.
As soon as it's midnight, Thursday night, Friday, I'm phone on D&D.
Don't talk to me.
You know, Jay's rolled. We vibing out.
Exactly.
So, and anybody who knows me knows I'm really like that with a lot of R&B music. Like, I get in a different zone with R&B than when I do with hip hop sometimes. So like, I really appreciate albums or artists that can allow me to like, you know, just go there. Like, you know, in like a vibe, mental, like meditative, you know.
Because I'm the same way. When there's there's big albums or just a big day of album releases, all of my friends know not to talk to me for at least 12 hours. Don't ask me about the app. Don't ask me about the album. Don't ask me, do I like it or not? No, I need 12 hours to really soak in what the artist is giving me.
Right. That's smart. And that's the thing. Like, It's been so hard, honestly, truthfully, this year. I'm surprised how much new music I listen to because
Exactly.
I am like a true, like, I don't want to say I'm stubborn with music, but it's like I'm listening to
I
the
listen to
albums
music
that I
differently
like
from
to
you.
listen to,
Yeah.
regardless of when they're coming out. So there's certain artists and albums, we don't have to go through all of them, but like that I'm still bumping. Like, for example, Summer Walker Over It, that was technically a 2020 release to me because it came out Q4 2019, but I listen to that album every day.
Every
Like,
day.
I listen to Summer Walker every day, just in way more than I should be. So, like, she's an example of some music that came out in 2019 and kind of came with me to 2020. Same with her, same with Roddy Ricch. But there's even, you know, artists that I was listening to that I got into heavier this year than I have originally, just because I had some more time to explore them during quarantine.
Yeah.
So I'm like really surprised at a lot of the new music. And like when I was like really, you know, on lockdown at first, like I was playing all like old stuff, like just that reminded me of home and like, you know, being around my family. So like it really did take a lot out of me to listen to new music. But the releases did make it exciting, and a lot of the rollouts were cool and creative, you know, dealing with the resources and the state of the world that we're in. But I just wanted to say that too, because not that I was nervous when you're like, oh, we're doing like a year end wrap up. I was just like, yo, like, did I listen to a lot of music this year? Like, I don't want to come up here and be talking about the same 5 artists, but like, as I did some reflecting, I actually was like, yo, a lot of people put out dope music and I listened to majority of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, just big shout out to myself for being a little
Yes.
for both of us, because it's hard. I be want to listen to the music that I like and that I know, and I know every song. So it's just like, yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm very stubborn on my music. Everyone knows that I'm very stubborn on even listening to artists that I don't like. I'm very big on that. But because of what my career is, I have no choice. I have to listen to everything. I have to give it a chance. But it won't be added to my library. I'm not one of those people that just randomly add music just because it's popping. No. I will listen to it and be like, all right, cool. That was cute. Moving on.
Right.
But I know what I'm going to listen to when I need to listen to music. But since we're talking about underground, let's just go to underrated album of the year.
Okay, underrated. I guess I would say Rose in the Dark, Cleo Soul is definitely underrated. I don't know if this is sorry. Give me a
You're good.
just to pull up my notes. Because I think I will also say I really like Don Toliver's album. What was it, In Heaven or Hell? Something along the lines.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that was underrated. I think it could be talked about a little more, but I think Don Toliver has a like, you know, like a unique taste. Like if you like Travis Scott, if you like party music, you're gonna like Don Toliver. But to me, I felt like it was a little underrated. So I'm gonna just give my shout out to Don Toliver. I am a stan. I love his sound of music. I thought it was dope. I'll also have to say that Busta Rhymes, since we did bring it up earlier, you know, Busta Rhymes had a really big release this year. I'm not trying to mispronounce the name of the album. Give me a second. My notes are so long for this. They're like a whole bunch of screenshots. So I'm just like, let me not say the wrong thing because I was typing a lot of these notes in the nail salon. But yeah, Busta Rhymes had a super huge Extinction Level, The Wrath of God. Yes. Had a really dope album this year. I will also say that Tame Impala came out this year. I don't know if they're underrated, but they had a very highly anticipated release to Currents that came out. The Slow Rush. So I feel like in the the hip hop and R&B community, like people aren't really checking for Tame Impala unless you're into that, but like they influence a lot of R&B music. Like of course Rihanna sampled them.
Mm-hmm.
And just in terms of bands in 2020, like they're one of the bigger ones. So I think, you know, their album was really dope. I don't think it was able to be enjoyed as much because they're like a really big festival group and like, you know, like summer, like, you know, like they just have really vibey music. So I don't know if like that's a reason why it wasn't as widely talked about as Currents, but it was pretty good. So I would have to say that was underrated. But that's the thing, underrated to me just might be things that I like that people aren't talking about.
No,
like,
that's
right
for me. Like I feel like these albums deserve more credit than
exactly. And they very like to their audiences, like they're not underrated.
Exactly.
But me, in the grand scheme of like music, I'm like people aren't talking about this album enough. And one more I will have to say is definitely Brandy B7. That was an amazing album. Borderline is crazy. I like Brandy. I'm also a Brandy stan.
A Brandy fanatic. Like I go crazy for Miss Norwood. Like
yes. So B7 was amazing, and like Brandy's vocals, like we don't even have to go down
she's
that
the vocal Bible. Like that's why they call her that.
Period. But it's also like you can see how her vocals have like really grown with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing her own ad libs on this. Like, if you get into the instrumentation and like just even the you know, like the vocal chords and the ranges, like on this album specifically, and how much Brandy is doing this on her own, like this is her own, you know, voice. She's like stacking her own vocals. It's crazy. So I have to definitely say Brandy on B7. It's super underrated, and like she just had like a really dope 2020 from Moesha going on Netflix to the Verses to B7 coming out. So I think, you know, especially before the Verses, I'm surprised a lot more people didn't go back to listen to B7. It also did pretty well on, you know, like the iTunes charts and the Urban AC charts or whatever. So it's like, you know, Brandy's in her bag, so I want to make sure that, you know, she got her flowers for that too.
Yes. I'm telling you, I'm a Brandy stan, and me and my friend, we were on FaceTime with each other during the Verses, and then we went and listened to the album together. And watching that Borderlines music video and understanding why she made the song is 10 times better than just listening to the song without having context. But I'm sorry, Brandy is queen, so I don't understand like why it's underrated. Like, get it together, y'all. If you haven't listened to B7, I give you permission to stop the episode and like pause it and like go listen and then come back. You're welcome. Right. So I would say that was also a good underrated choice. My two that I have, because you know we love two. I don't think we ever really have one, but I think that my two that came out this year would be Stages by Jade Nova. I feel like Jade Nova is more known for her voice acting and like her skits and everything. Right. But Jade Nova has a godly voice. Like her choices, her placement of her voice, her lyricism, her vocal stacking, just doing all of this on her own, like Brandy. It's actually sickening how good it is with no backing. Exactly. I have played this album at least 100 times. I know all the lyrics. I know everything. She is a great woman, and she has written for a lot of people. So don't sleep on her.
I was gonna say she's like super talented, and
her pen game is crazy.
Right, linking up with other artists, so it's dope that, you know, she has a project out, and we need to give it some more love. Period.
It's called Stages. If you're into the R&B bag, she gives you the bops, but she also gives you R&B bag. And I think that the last one that I'm going to say is by Terrell Grice, if you know the Terrell Show on YouTube. It's called An Invitation to the Cookout. And I think the reason why I love this is because he took people that a lot of people don't know, except if you're really into your music bag in the R&B world, you will know these people that are on this album. But I feel like I loved that he did this all on his own money, his own push. Like he wrote these songs, he helped produce these songs. Like he really had no idea how to make an album and literally made one of the best albums that I think could have come out.
Yeah, a friend of mine put me on to the Terrell Guys album, and I enjoyed it. It made me think of another album that I left out that was underrated, which is the Dinner Party album with Robert Glasper, Terrence Martin, Ninth Wonder, and Kamasi Washington. They put out a joint album. It's called Dinner Party. Super jazzy, super hip hop, like, you know, super like kind of classic feel. But I believe that it was underrated. Like those are four incredible, you know, musicians, producers, you know, industry haymakers and game changers. But I personally really loved the Freeze Tag was one of my favorites. First Responders, like Sleepless Nights. Like it's a 7-song project, but pretty solid. Super musical. If you're into like, of course, Robert Glasper, and Kamasi Washington, because they're like musicians. So if you're into like jazz and hip hop and, you know, instrumentation and like a Tribe Called Quest and like, you know, that type of hip hop, like that's the album you should go listen to. But yeah, definitely shout out to the Dinner Party album as well.
If you're not into a Tribe Called Quest, I really don't think that I can respect you musically.
Yeah, no comment on that. I'm the Zulu Nation. I'm a Tribe Called Quest fan. Like, you know, like my handles on a lot of my socials is Ebony Applebaum. So like, we can have another episode about Tribe.
A whole episode about Tribe.
Because I have so much to say about them. Like they were probably like the first like group or like any real hip hop artist I was like actually really obsessed with, like just their music. So I have a different type of relationship.
That's like saying that you don't like the Roots. Like that's just disrespectful.
Yeah, the Roots is another one. Like I love the Roots.
It's just I'm just sitting here, like if you're listening to the audio version and not seeing my face, like my face is just dumbfounded because I'm just like, there's people out here that don't know who a Tribe Called Quest is.
And that's the thing, like it's crazy because like of course Tribe, they put an album out, I think it was 2016. Fairly recent, but it's like there's so many elements of Tribe that are in artists today. There's so many elements of just the jab hip hop sound that is still out right now.
Yeah.
So even if you aren't listening to Tribe, you still listen to Tribe, but you're listening like their descendants. And I think, you know, it's really important that just as consumers and as artists, producers, whoever, that we're constantly like reaching back and reminding like, these are the albums that kind of started this. These are the albums that kind of, you know, like kicked off the whole wave.
Not even kind of, they did. Without a Tribe Called Quest, without these people, you would not have the sound that you love right now.
Exactly. So like I want to see more of that happening, you know, just visibly with artists and, you know, with projects. Like, you know, like, hey, like, and you don't have to tell everyone your concepts, but I can also tell when artists like aren't moving as intentionally. And I don't think there is as much of like a paying homage stage. Like not when you want to like have a sample or when you want to, you know, like do a tribute, but like actually going back, listening to those albums, you know, like drawing from concepts that they use, but also like being more creative in a way to incorporate, you know, that sound, because now a lot of the sampling to me is a little lazy.
It's lazy as hell.
You know, it's just like we want to have that nostalgic feel, and it's like we're Black people, we thrive off nostalgia, like, but regardless. So it's just like be more interesting with it. Like that's all I wish. Like, you know, but that's a different conversation. Love Tribe and love the Roots though.
I really instantly thought of a song, but that's not today. Like a sampling that I just feel like is not good. But you know, another conversation another day. It's fine. I think we should move right along to, I think that a certain genre has been great this year. And I think that not just R&B, but I think like alternative R&B has gotten not better, but like it's gotten better reception this year, if that makes sense. A lot of artists, which is a part of my, is it a part of my best album of the year? It's a part of my best album of the year. There, that's the genre. But I think alternative R&B has really had a moment this year where I think that a lot of people are more appreciative of it. And I think just the R&B genre in general, because I hate when people say that R&B is dead. It's not. It's just not. It's just changing. I think music needs to be allowed room to grow in a different way. And you can't just hold on to the fact that, oh my God, I missed this R&B. Well, okay, this R&B inspired this R&B. We can't just make music that sounds the exact same that 2000s or 90s music sounds like. We can't just keep doing that. Artists come up with their own creativity. So I think that this year I've respected and listened to a lot more R&B mainstream wise, like at my station and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's good. Like R&B definitely had a big year in 2020. Even in 2019, it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of still riding off of that momentum. But agreed, like I think R&B definitely is shifting and people are more open to the changes. Mm-hmm. I also think that, like, of course, you know, certain aspects of traditional R&B are not as present in the music today, but that doesn't mean it's not R&B. Like, right. There's very, you know, fundamental, you know, R&B that can be found in 2020. So I don't really like that as an excuse, but like we talked about, like Kehlani had a great project, Janae Aiko had a great project. Division, I'm Used in Her Feelings was a really good project in my opinion. I really liked Party Next Door. I like Party Next Door. I don't necessarily think that it was like, you know, it gave me the Party I, you know, once loved.
I just don't like Party as a live artist, so it makes me mad that he can't deliver what he gives studio wise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I just think he's like, I don't want to say he experienced some burnout, but he really did have a really strong run. Mm-hmm. You know, with PND 1 and 2 and 3, yeah, to be honest. So like, you know, like we might just have to give him some time to get back into the groove, but like he's still an amazing songwriter, still has amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I personally like what was it, Party Mobile? I personally liked that album, but I also like Party Next Door. So I think I can throw him in the R&B conversation for the year. Of course, Chloe and Halle did have some dope R&B records. I feel like I'm missing so many people. We already talked about Kivion, Cleo Soul, Snow Allegra had a single that was dope. I want to get more on the albums. Like, let me go to my notes because I know I'm missing like maybe 2 people. Sorry, 1 second.
No, you're good.
Summer Walker had a cute EP, although like it didn't give me
it didn't give me
over it, but yeah. I was bumping it. White Tea was a bop. Cash Page. I love Cash Page.
Love songs.
Yes, Cash Page is a vibe. Sis did her thing. I'm like really expecting big things from her. Mm-hmm. You know,
I love her whole gimmick that she literally calls herself the female future, and I'm here for it.
She's so dope, and like she's very Atlanta.
Very Atlanta.
You know, like she has Black features, like the whole thing. So it's just like, I really like her sound. I really love what she's doing. Mariah the Scientist, another Atlanta R&B artist. She's really dope.
I love that we are talking about her. Keep going.
Yeah. I liked her project in 2019. I forgot the name of it, but
oh, I know what you're talking about.
Like in like a blue suit.
Yeah.
Cover, but yeah, she's super dope. I love her sound. I want more from her. Like, I like the single a little.
ASAP.
So, and of course, The Weeknd did his thing with After Hours. Our R&B king, even though it does have some pop elements, but he's an R&B artist, and it was a lot of R&B on that album. Snow Child is my favorite song, but like, The Weeknd definitely deserves his flowers for the R&B, as well as Alicia Keys. Like, I listened to her album. She has some cool moments, but overall, a lot of people did really enjoy Alicia Keys' album as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, speaking of Mariah, because I just feel like people don't know who she is, and I just wanna give her a little props real quick, because it goes with the next. I guess it kind of doesn't, because she released it in 2019, but I'm gonna just say it. The project that she put out is called Master. If you don't know Mariah, the scientist, she has like alternative R&B vibes. Like, I wouldn't classify her as solely R&B, but like she's like alternative because she can like flip flop. But I think that the reason why I love her is purely off of this one song. And if you do anything that I tell you to do today, besides go listen to Brandy, and A Tribe Called Quest. So the third thing I'm going to ask you to do today is go listen to Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice is so well done, because if you know the Beetlejuice movie, the whole premise is he only comes when you say his name 3 times. And in this song, in the lyrics, she only says his name 3 times, purely as homage of that. She sets the music video in shots that are very similar to the shots that they filmed in Beetlejuice. So the way that they shoot the movie is the way that she shot her music video. And just the lyricism of the song makes so much sense on why she chose the Beetlejuice to be inspired by. And I think that as an artist, it's so cool to take something and be inspired by it and then just switch it into something that is crazy. And exactly. I think that a lot of artists that do that don't get the recognition that they deserve. So because you brought up Mariah the Scientist, I needed to do that. She wasn't in 2020, but I don't care.
She had a single that came out this year. She had some music out. I don't know if it was a full EP, but I did.
It wasn't a project, but it was definitely a single.
Yeah. But thank you, because I'm into, little nerdy facts like that about, albums and concepts and videos. So I didn't know that. So I'm over here like blown away, because I think she is super creative. Just in kind of like the way she's marketing herself. Like, she's cute, but she's also, like edgy in a way. So I'm excited for her. Like I said, I'm just an R&B head, so I love all the girls. Like, I don't care who you are. If it's a vibe, if I can vibe out to it, if I can smoke to it, add it, follow it.
That's really the criteria. If I can smoke to it and vibe to it, yeah.
The bar might be low, but a lot of the girls are talented. So like, I really like Mariah the Scientist. And I will have to also say hers Damage single is so good. It is like, I think that's already, I don't know, when did that song come out? It's already been on repeat like
it
that.
Came out this year at the end of it, in the third quarter.
Came out.
Third quarter, fourth quarter of this year.
Let me see. Damage, her. I have to go on Tidal. I feel like Tidal is the only thing that tells me the actual date.
And I wish that all platforms would tell you that, but whatever.
Go to credits. When did this come out? October 21st.
Okay,
so came out like a little over a month ago, and I swear I've already listened to the song like so much, and I just love her. Like, the elements of this song are absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And Ella Mai has another really dope single out, Not Another Love Song. Yeah. So R&B is doing their thing for sure. Like, I love, and Ari, she had some remixes from Shea Butter Baby she put out, as well as like Chocolate Pomegranate, I think. Yeah, and even locally, she put out a jingle with it's like this black plant company. The name is at the tip of my tongue. Give me a second. Grounded. she put out a jingle with them recently. DMV, DC based plant subscription business. Two Black women founded it. Excuse me, I think one or both went to Howard. So like, I love what Ari's doing. She's moved back to the area. Like she's really, still putting out good music, even though Shea Butter Baby was 2019. I'm excited for her and what's to come.
Same. I think we have 2 more categories before we get to the top tier of the episode. But I think that we should do album that didn't live up to the hype. Do you have one?
Okay, and if we can, since we talked about R&B, I want to talk a little about hip hop too, because I feel like it's some albums that we left out, but one that didn't live up to the hype, and I really hate that I'm saying this, like I almost feel like I'm going against my idol who is Hov, but Jay Electronica's album, it did not live up to the hype to me, and I don't even feel comfortable saying this, because like I truly, like a written testimony, I truly am like huge Jay-Z, Rockefeller, Jay Electronica, like Exhibit C, like I had that like on my classic iPod. So like I was like super young.
My classic iPod.
Electronica. But to me, just considering the wait time we had, also, because Jay Electronica, like he didn't put out an album for years. Like this album was kind of anticipated, like, almost a decade ago, to be honest. So like, it's been like 9 years or something. So like, I think because we did have to wait so long, it didn't live up to the hype to me, although it was a really strong project. Like, to me, one of my favorite songs is Flux Capacitator, of course, that was one of the big ones. Ghost of Soulja Slim, of course, with I think that's the Jay-Z feature. So like, it's like, I didn't sit with this album as much as I should have, to be honest. And I just don't really think I was as excited for it as I would have been a couple years back, but it is a very solid project. I really do want to share my love to Jay Electronica, like his whole team, like, Jay-Z, like everyone, but like, I personally don't think it lived up to the hype for me. So I guess that would be my album of 2020 to answer your question that didn't live up to the hype.
I think people are going to hate me as well for this, but before you start throwing out the shade and the hate, let me explain myself. So the album that I think that didn't live up to the hype, I feel scared because as soon as I say it, people are going to come for me on socials, but it's Shoot for the Star, 8 from the Moon, because I love.
Not to cut you off, this is why I wanted to get to hip hop, because I feel like it's a lot of albums we have not talked about. So Pop Smokes was going to be one of them, but I want to hear your take, sis.
I love the album. I'm mad that I expected more Pop Smoke, and I understand why, because he unfortunately met his end.
To Pop Smoke and to King Von, Mo3, all the artists that passed away this year, because it was a few, like more than a few. Bill Withers, like some of the older ones. Andre Harrell, rest in peace.
Yes.
We lost a lot of
legends.
Legends this year. Little Richard, Betty Wright, just so many. So that's something else that now that's on my mind. Like, just rest in peace to everybody that passed away this year.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh. I forgot how many.
Not to go down, but like just before the end of the podcast. But I really want to hear your take on this, because I have an interesting take as well about this.
I feel like when it comes to albums like this, where it's pop, not pop, but when it's post
I'm not even gonna say it.
Whatever the word is.
I know post Maltheus or Mortius. We know. Sorry, people listening. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
When it's like this and they weren't able to finish it, it sits weird in my spirit. Because it's like, okay, was this exactly how they wanted it to sound? Like, would they have added something? Was there an extra verse that needed to be in this? And it seems like for this album, it wasn't a Pop Smoke album. It was a 50 Cent album. And I get why. I truly understand why it was made that way. But it's just sad to me that I didn't get to experience pop in the way that I wanted to, because I feel like there would have just been a lot more to the album than just because
I understand
some
that.
of the songs were just like only like a few seconds of pop, and then everybody else kind of filled in the verses. So like, I get it. It was still a great album. I'm not going to say that it wasn't. It's just an album that I feel like was really hyped up, and I was kind of let down because I felt like there wasn't enough pop. But again, it makes sense because unfortunately he wasn't able to finish the album. But yeah. So don't shoot me. Don't shoot me.
Oh no, I definitely understand your take, and I don't think anybody would be super upset about that. Like, the circumstances of, you know, Pop Smoke and his career are very unfortunate. Mm-hmm. So it was very hard to pull off this album, I could imagine. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, you know, you just don't pull it off to everyone, and that's fine. But I liked the album. I think it was like, at the time it came out, it was summer-ish. It was like, you know, people were outside. Like, it was a cute turn-up album for me this summer. I'm also a huge Pop Smoke fan. Like, I literally had got my best friend tickets for his show. Like, it was literally the week after he passed away in DC, kicking off the tour. So we were ready for Pop Smoke's, you know, 2020. But I think he deserved a better rollout. That was the thing for me. I think the rollout really distracted a lot of people from actually enjoying the album, because it was a lot with Virgil, and like, you know, it was a whole contest. So I think when these type of things happen, which can be good marketing for certain artists, but for an artist like Pop Smoke, and also considering the situation he was in, I don't necessarily know if that helped the album.
Right.
But I just have to say, Diana, of course, the Cheers to You sample was the highlight of the album for me. And my R&B, you know, my R&B head, the R&B head in me was really excited for that. But it was the other dope songs, but I definitely do understand, like, it wasn't like a lot of other Pop Smoke's work was super Pop Smoke, and this was, it didn't sound as Pop Smoke. So I totally understand that.
I feel like people are gonna shoot me, but don't shoot me. Okay. The second to last category that we have obviously has to be best song of the year. And looking at the ones that you have put on here, I agree with one of them.
I'm like,
I agree with one of them. So I'm a do my little one real quick. I think honestly anything on Ungodly Hour is great. I think that mine makes sense of why it's Grammy nominated. I wondered if She Thinks of Me is truly an iconic song. If you haven't listened to it, go do that. I love hearing about the mistress's side of shit. And I love that it came from Chloe and Halle. Like, I love that the whole premise of this album was to break that wall that people were having of, oh my God, they're so innocent. Like, come on, like, Chloe is literally like, what, 22? And Halle's like, what, 20 now? Like, I need y'all to get with the program. These are grown ass women.
Mm-hmm. I was just having this conversation on Clubhouse with somebody, because we were talking about Chloe and Halle, and everyone was like, why do you think we're all like receptive to them now? So I'm like, because they shaking their ass a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're wearing tighter clothes, and like, you know, like they've truly stepped into their womanhood, not to like base it, you know, around just sexuality and, you know, their feminine side, but we have seen them embrace that differently.
I also think that their music was alternative to a point where a lot of mainstream people weren't really liking their vibe.
Right. But also it's like, for a lot, and I don't want to call them kids because I'm 24, like I'm
right with the same
age group, but it's just like for a lot of child, you know, type of artists, like people usually don't catch on to them until they grow up anyway. So I think that's why this year was kind of a huge breakout for them because they're just growing up, which is awesome. So it's just like they just gonna keep getting better. But yes, I totally agree with you on that song. I have two, and they're pretty popular. So I'm going kind of mainstream here. The first one I'm gonna say Life is Good, Drake and Future. That came out January of 2020. It kind of set the tone for the year. Like when that song came out, my weekends was lit up until the middle of March.
Yes.
Off that song. Not primarily, but you know, that was like one of the craziest club hits while we could still be outside. But
right.
I just think kind of deeper, it just like life really still is good in the midst of all that we've been through this year. And, you know, like when that song came out, it's like working on the weekends like usual. And then like literally 2 months later, like life is completely different. Like people aren't working, people aren't in the hustle and bustle of life. Like, you know, like, but life is still good. We lost so many people this year in music and outside of music, just in general.
Yeah.
And I think that song just kind of speaks to remaining positive, like just how hip hop can kind of like, you know, just like take your mind off of everything that's going on and like just have you really focus on the music. And so I will definitely say, to me, Life is Good deserves like that song of the year because it's just also hype. Like as soon as the Future part comes on, like you know, it's just hype, and I love that. And it's like we need more of that because even if it's not a full album, it's like we're gonna have to have songs that we look back to and it was like this was the year that this happened. And like I feel like Drake and Future like kind of own that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for whatever they have coming.
What about Loverboy out January 1st?
Oh, that is confirmed for Christmas. I mean, for New Year's. Woo!
I think that is the best day for a Drake album to come out, especially this one, because it's so hyped up and people are so excited for it to sound like R&B bag Drake. I think that is the perfect day for this album to come out.
So,
especially because I can't go nowhere. Don't talk to me on New Year's because I'm listening to that.
Right. And so I actually have 3. I'm sorry. And then I'm gonna like very ever so like literally, I know I don't want to run over, but like literally 5 minutes or like 3 minutes just talking about some hip hop albums because I don't want to leave them out. But the second song I'm gonna say is Ungodly Hour because that song I probably heard the most. Like I wasn't even trying to listen to Chloe and Halle. I was hearing that song on Twitter, social media, whatever. And to me, I love the beat. I'm really into like, you know, like house and, you know, like all that type of stuff. So I'm think Disclosure did that beat. Let me just
I think they Disclosure did something on there.
So the song Ungodly Hour to me was just like a bop, and it was something that was super just uplifting. I think like it was just Disclosure did produce it, but I just think it's like kind of like to me the song that just kind of like just kept me in the happiest mood this year. Like, you know, so I'm basing that straight off of personal shit. But like Chloe and Halle had an amazing year. I can't not mention the song for Song of the Year. I liked it better than Do It. And I think like it just is perfect. And I really like how, yes, Chloe and Halle are R&B artists. Yes, they have amazing vocals, but this was a pop song. And I love seeing Black women in the pop space.
Right.
I don't want to talk too much about pop, but I'm also a huge Dua Lipa fan. Shout out to sis because
Dua Lipa.
I love her. My Leo sis. I love Dua Lipa. We don't even like. We can maybe do another conversation about pop because I'm getting
pop alone.
I'm getting more into pop right now. Like I like Rosalie, I like all them girls, but like I'm a true like hip hop and R&B. But there are like I really like The Weeknd, so it's just like The Weeknd kind of has me venturing, you know, outside of like my usuals. And Dua Lipa is somebody that was just like, yo, she's dope. So I've been listening to her. But just to wrap it all, like the last song that I think was the song of the year is of course Lil Baby 42 Doug Be Paid, because that was just one of those songs that totally took took the streets by storm.
I played that every day when I
like
when I had money in my account and when I didn't have money in my account. I said, yeah, we play. Yeah.
Exactly. Young turnt nigga can't wipe no. Like we were so invested into that song. I used to live in Atlanta, so it made me miss the hell out of Atlanta. I'm sorry, I don't even know if we can curse, but the sailors come
Girl,
out.
I've been cursing this whole time.
Definitely one of the songs of the year, like undisputable. Like Lil Baby had his year. That's why I wanted to get into hip hop, because I have to give a lot of these artists their flowers because they had phenomenal albums and rollout in the midst of all that was going on. Lil Baby is one of them.
Lil Baby had a fantastic 2020. I don't care what anyone says.
Literally the best. And again, Lil Baby is not a new artist, but I've been a huge fan of his since around 2017 when he got out of, prison or whatever. And like, since then he's been killing it. But My Turn, especially the deluxe as well, because came out on the deluxe. My Turn, I believe, was out pre-quarantine. But just a really strong project. Like, features didn't overpower the album. Like, Lil Baby held his own. When we talk about Grace, like I said, Emotionally Scarred, Commercial, we should, like, I think, I don't want to give it away too much, but it was a contender for my favorite album of the year. So I definitely have to give my love to Lil Baby, and a couple other hip hop artists. I just want to quickly shout out. Okay, so I definitely have to give some love to the whole Griselda, but definitely Westside Gun, and Benny had great albums like Pray for Paris. I'm just touch on that. Like that, I love that album. I probably should have put that in my underrated list, but Griselda, they're popping, and they put out great projects this year. Along with Alfredo, Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs has been out for a while, but Alfredo was really his masterpiece, or a masterpiece, I feel like. So definitely big shout out to Freddie Gibbs. And there's one more person we already talked about, Busta. There's one more person I feel like I'm leaving out. There also was a lot of new music that just came out this past couple weeks. So big shout out to Kid Cudi, because his album was dope.
I haven't listened to it yet because I one thing about me is I can't listen to an album when it's all hyped up, because obviously Kid Cudi's is hyped up because this is the first project that we've had in literally centuries. And I just need to like be in the best mindset for Cudi. Like I feel like that's what he deserves from me.
No, I feel you. And Cudi's one of those artists, like, you just have to be in that mindset.
Yeah.
I listened to it Friday morning. I listened to it a few times and I was hooked.
I'm just excited to go back to 2016 and be like, yeah.
Right. Definitely have to give a shout out to Lil Keed. He had a really dope project this year. I'm an Atlanta hip hop fan, so if you're not familiar with Lil Keed, he's really dope. He had a song, of course, with Travis Scott that was huge. Oh shoot, we forgot to add Tiana in the R&B conversation. I'm looking through my music. Shout out to Tiana's album.
We're gonna talk about Tiana in the next one. I'm gonna just talk about her.
Okay, yes. And just the last couple hip hop artists that I want to shout out for this year. I definitely want to give a shout out to, oh my God, we left somebody else out in R&B, but big shout out to Gunna. This is a Gunna stand account. Wunna was so lit. I love the marketing for Wunna. Wunna had some of the best marketing this year. It was like about horoscopes and like astrology and the Hood Healer. A lot of their rollout. So big shout out to Gunna for that album. And I think the last one that was on my list or in my head was probably Roddy Ricch, but that was technically 2019, but it was the end of the year. So basically owned.
I think that Q4 2019 rolls over to 2020.
Right. And then Roddy Ricch's album came out literally within the last 2 weeks of the year, I feel like, or maybe 3 weeks. So it really felt like,
it was 2020.
It was 2020. Yeah. But like rap had a really strong year this year as well. There's two R&B albums I left out, and it was Tiana's album and Brent Faiyaz' Fuck the World. and I cannot believe I did not talk about Brent Faiyaz.
Brent Faiyaz and his talk to ass.
He is everything. So big shout out to Brent. I love that project. It might even be my favorite this year, but like, let's just get there. Okay, but I just have to say that.
I'm gonna say, hold on. All right, it's the time that we've been waiting for. So because you brought up Tiana, I'm just gonna go first. So
okay.
My album of the year, I have two because it's disrespectful to only give it to one. It's an album that I haven't talked about yet here, but I know that my good sis Nep, if she's listening to this album, if you don't know who Nep is, she was a guest on my podcast this season, and she also has a music therapy journal. Go get it; it's lit. Ooh. But I think that Spillagin by Spillage Village is the most magnificent project I have ever put my ears to. And if you don't know who Spillage Village is, let me just tell you who Spillage Village is. 1 second. Let me just pull it up because I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody their credits here.
Yes.
Because I need y'all to all know who the fuck. Because Atlanta and Baltimore came together for this one. I don't care. So obviously we have the impeccable, the untouchable Earth Gang. I don't care what anyone tells me. Earth Gang is top 10 of the top 10, and that's it.
Okay, I respect it.
JID, we only have bangers. Simple. We got Mariba. I want to make sure I'm saying her name right because Queen held it down.
I love Mariba. She is so talented, so amazing, so down to earth. Like,
it doesn't make sense how
Mariba stan.
This is a Mariba stan account, and if you don't know who Mariba is, I really
do your homework, do your Googles, do them because
I need you to fix that.
The Jungle is the only way out. That was the 2019 release, but it was super amazing album. Like, I encourage everyone that's listening to go back and listen to that album, especially Stay True. Like, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Stay True. I'm missing people because I don't like the fact that, because this says Hollywood JB is also in it. It says Jordan Bryant and then Benji. Is 6 Lack is technically in it, but like, okay. But the reason why I say that Spillagin was the best release of 2020, well, one of the, because I have two. I think that purely off of Baptize alone, that this was the best album. Like, purely off of the fact that they had so many. I love the way that they made the album and the concept. So if you don't know the concept, please go ahead and entertain yourself and like find out the concept. I'm not going to do the homework for you is what I'm trying to say. But I think that they had a beautiful way of intertwining all of their different styles, because everybody has different styles. They're similar, but they're different. Like, Earth Gang is not the same as Black. Mariba is not the same as JID. Like, they're not comparable. But I think that when they come together, they make an amazing situation. If I remember correctly, they had a Tiny Desk this year. Don't quote me on that. But
I don't remember. I have been behind on my Tiny Desk.
Like, I feel like they had some sort of live performance, and it may have been a Tiny Desk, but do not quote me. But my top 3 songs from that is Baptized, clearly, featuring Aunt Clemens, Cupid by Lucky Day, and Ocean. I think I'm saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. Ocean, featuring Jordan Bryant. I love
Ocean, yeah.
I love that. And then we're going to give it to my queen, Tiana Taylor. The album was what I wanted Tiana to do. I feel like people be shitting on Tiana, and it's disrespectful because every project that bitch has come out with has been great. Because keep the same energy. I don't care what y'all say about that album. Even though it wasn't completely done, it was still fire for what it was. 7. If you don't know 7, you don't know real Tiana. You don't know real Tiana. But I feel like the album,
I still think, and this is a different conversation, but I think Tiana's true sound is that 7 album.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
but I think that the way that she executed the album was so good. One, the rollout was great. I don't care. Her rollout for this project was great. I love the setup that each letter was its own vibe. Like if you wanted a particular vibe, you went to that letter. So ALBUM all had each their own
right.
vibe. U is my favorite. Y'all know I'm a simp, so I love a good emotion. Like I was crying when I first heard you, the U part. I love the fact that she made certain songs so that she could play this for a set list of just the album. She says this in an interview, go look at it. But she made the album so that if she just wanted to go straight through the album on a set list or tour, she could.
Yeah, it's very playlisty to me. It's kind of like a little playlist vibe.
I think that my top songs would be I love Low Key featuring Queen.
Yes.
I do. I love Morning featuring my wife Kaylani. It's real nice and sexual. Love that. Love Killer by featuring DeVito because that was not what I was expecting, and I love
that song. And I love 1-800-19.
Oh yeah.
That is a vibe, and I don't think like people really like peep the song on the album because it's kind of
it's really short.
Yeah. So like I think it doesn't get as like much recognition.
Yeah.
But, you know, like that was a dope song, and of course, Wake Up Love. Like,
oh yeah. I'm trying to stay away from like the ones that everybody knows.
Right.
Love Wrong Bitch because it gave me all my Leo vibes that I needed. Even though she's not
Leo.
She gave me the Leo vibes that I needed.
I didn't realize you were a Leo.
Yes, girl, August 8th.
Oh my gosh. August
15th. Shoot It Up featuring Big Sean was also really good. And then Concrete made me cry.
Yeah, it's an emotional album if you are listening to it with that lens. Because I had like a sad day and I turned on this album and I was like, ooh.
Yes. I'm trying to remember what rapper came to her. Yes. Okay, cool. I had it right. So I love the way that The Game talks about this album. If you have not seen his Instagram post, it's still up. But I love the way that he describes it. He says, I always told you were one amazing project away from your destiny, and then it came, the album, your classic. Undeniably you, a body of work that was clearly the best R&B album of the year. You know it, I know it, and so does your fan base. Live in your glory and never be deterred by the minds of those weakened by this watered-down era of appreciation. I think that the album was what Tiana needed. I feel like people took away her power with KTSE purely off the fact that all of the drama that came around it. I don't think anyone really like gave her props for still putting out a project, even though it was not finished and not up to the par that she wanted. Like, yes, the songs are what she wanted, but they were supposed to be more. Besides the drama of it, I feel like Keep the Same Energy didn't have what it needed to just have. And I feel like now with the album, I'm sad for her to announce that she's retiring because I don't like that. I feel like she finally got full, complete control of a project and it still did not do as well in her eyes successfully as it should have. And unfortunately, that's just the story of her artistry, her story of her journey. But because I feel like since day one, she hasn't gotten support from Pharrell's label to now Good Music, but that's a whole different conversation. But I think that the album was a perfect Tiana Taylor album. I think it was perfect for the era that she's in currently. And as a director enthusiast, because Auntie's production, top 10, you know it's an Auntie production because it's that good. Simple, but
She did.
But I really hope that this is a lie. I hope she's lying to us just to like make us a little sad to go run back and get the streams up real quick, because that's what I'm gonna do. But
that's what we was gonna do anyway. But yeah, I don't think she's, well, actually I don't know. I hope she's not serious.
I hope she's retiring label wise, because I truly, truly believe that she can do it independently. I truly, because at this point she's been doing independently this whole time.
Yeah, I feel like, and it's funny because I was just having a conversation about this on Clubhouse with somebody, but like,
come on, Clubhouse, sponsor us.
I think that she hasn't found her true sound yet. I think that's one of those things where she has to do some like digging, or at least some like reflecting to find out like what's the sound that like works best for me, and where can I like capitalize off of this.
And I think this was a good segue into getting to that.
Right, exactly. Because it's like she gives us a great R&B vibe. She'll give us a great like alternative, like almost like R&B poppy vibe. And then she can give us a dance vibe and like, you know, a house. So it's just like, I feel like Tiana just has to kind of like just find out like what pocket she wants to get into, because a lot of times if it's sporadic, like fans aren't focused on like, you know, a lot of the music. But overall, I think she has a fan base. I think she has, of course, the cloud. So like she has no reason to stop. She should definitely keep going. And there's so many people behind her, you know, in every side of the industry, from music to fashion to sports. So like Tiana has a tribe. She has to keep going. So, definitely one of the other great albums that came out this year.
I'm a Tiana stan, and I'm not gonna allow her to retire. Like, it's really cute.
You're gonna jump out there and like,
I'm gonna be like, Tiana, just drop a little single. Like, I don't even need like a whole project and then a whole album, maybe an EP, a mixtape that you just drop for your fans on your email list.
Something. I'm gonna need something from this mom, because I'm just not doing no Tiana.
And I also need more of Junie, because Junie is a crazy.
I love her. She's so cute. I love Junie.
Yeah, I need more Junie on this next project, because we're putting it in the atmosphere. But your album of the year.
Okay, so just like you have two, I have one album that I forgot to mention for like hip hop / R&B, and that was Drake's Dark Lane tape demos. I love that album. I ran that album out, and Chris Brown and Young Thug's album I also did really like. So I just have to give a shout out to those two. A lot of the rap albums had completely left my mind by the time we got to it, but I think this was a pretty good year for rap. So just like you, I have two top albums. I'm gonna try to keep it short because I know this is long. But I'm gonna do ladies first. I have to give it to Janae Chilombo. I think that super complete project, like
Chilombo or Chilombo Deluxe?
Both. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same. Like both of the albums I'm naming, they have deluxe editions. So the deluxe was like,
sometimes the deluxe album editions don't be good. So that's why I ask.
That's true, but I like this deluxe. I really like the On the Way Pussy Fairy with her sister Mila J. I love that. Like, I love Mila J.
Yeah.
And like when we just talk about sisters and music, like of course Beyonce and Solange, Chloe and Halle, but Mila and Janae are some underrated sisters. And I have two sisters, and we love all the sisters. So like we've been hip to them. So like I was just really happy to see Mila J, you know, back on you know, on the scene or whatever, making music, because like I haven't heard any music from her in a minute.
She technically did like EPs for each month of 2019, I believe.
Oh, well, I totally missed that. Well, actually, if I didn't, I actually did hear a couple of those. But I meant to say it was good to see like her and her
mainstream vibe. Yeah.
Like, you know, like putting music out in that type of vibe.
Yeah.
So she, as in Mila J, was a really good treat to the deluxe. But just back to the Chilombo album, I think Janae, this was a more highly anticipated release, and I think it did deliver. I really, really liked like the flow of the album. I think the sequencing was cool. Of course, like I said, BS is like my favorite song. But there was a lot of other like really high highs. Happiness Over Everything, of course, was like a cool
Love a good hoe.
Yes, but you know, if we just talk about, like I said, 10K hours, like Trigger Freestyle, that was another single.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Define Me interlude, like Trying to Smoke was one of my favorite songs, of course. Summer 2020, I think that was on the deluxe, super good.
Party for Me made me cry.
Yeah, you know, Summertime Madness sample. So
Mm-hmm.
like I just think that Janae delivered, and
Yeah.
that's something that's hard to do. And this is like, what album is this? What was before this? What, so the
Oh,
album
before Chilumbo, Trip.
Trip was before that. Then it was Sold Out,
Mm-hmm.
and then
And then the EPs, the mixtapes.
yeah. So I think like Janae has had a really great catalog.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of keep up with that, you know, just momentum and just kind of the hype is something that, you know, she definitely should be acknowledged for, because everybody cannot do that. But I think overall this was a very strong body of work, and like in terms of like one of the better albums of 2020 when we are speaking R&B, I gotta give Sis her flowers. So I guess that's my R&B pick. But my hip hop pick, of course, is going to Little Baby again. I just think I was looking through the albums I listened to this year and like my warps on like Spotify, Apple, whatever title, and like Little Baby was all throughout that you know, that list of songs I was listening to. And like I think I'm not necessarily a hip hop purist. I like everything, and I spent a lot of time in Atlanta, so I love trap music. But I think for a trap artist or an artist that's more southern or has like a unique type of approach to hip hop outside of the traditional, you know,
Mm-hmm.
boom bap and lyricism, like Little Baby was able to like really show, you know, artists from Atlanta, Southern artists, like you can make a really dope, critically acclaimed album, even be conscious, like
Yeah.
we heard The Bigger Picture, and still like speak to the streets, still have the streets on lock, still have, you know, just different audiences appreciating your music. And I think that's something he really was able to pull off with My Turn. And like I said, like we pay kind of set the tone for the summer and quarantine. Like it's a pandemic, baby. Like we still get into it. But I mean, like he gave us that energy. And I know like it's hard to say because a lot did happen this year. A lot of people weren't, millions of people, you know, weren't getting paid and weren't, you know, flexing money, like buying their girlfriend whatever car and vacations, you know. But it's just good to see, in my opinion, like young Black people like Baby and Jada stepping into the kind of like, you know, socialite, like upper echelon. Like we're seeing that, you know, from young artists and from young entrepreneurs. Like his girlfriend is a huge entrepreneur. So I just think their whole swag in this year was just so big. Like even outside the music, like we hear about them all the time. So I just have to give Little Baby his flowers.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, with Chloe and Halle, because they were my third runner up. But when we look back on 2020, like we're gonna be able to say Little Baby owned and defined this year. And like the fact that The Bigger Picture, of course, was such a big album, excuse me, a big single that was kind of like a follow up to the album,
Mm-hmm.
and that touched on a lot of the current, you know, just world events that were happening, from coronavirus to the, you know, the racial uprisings and revolutions that happened because of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Like Little Baby spoke about that, and a lot of artists didn't know how to
Receive it.
see what
Yeah.
was going on in a way that would be well received. And
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, it was like a rap song, like you could turn up to it, but it's talking about some real shit. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that like he mastered, or I think that's something that he like hit it out the gate. I don't even know if that was his first try, but like I
And
didn't
that's the foundation of hip hop, having a good beat, but still being socially
exactly.
conscious. Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of times when we hear trap, when we think of Atlanta rappers, we aren't thinking of conscious. And
Right.
Little Baby kind of showed us you don't have to be quote unquote conscious to have that type of opinion or to speak about these things in your music. But my favorite song, Grace, was one of my favorite songs, like just because of the beat and just like, I don't know, it just gets me in my bag and in my zone. And like I will also have to say, of course, we paid Emotionally Scarred, which is a phenomenal song. Like Lil Baby some of his best work lyrically on Emotionally Scarred. Heating Up with Gunna, I'm just a huge Gunna fan. Commercial, No Sucker, Something to Prove was a huge single. I really like that. So just really the whole project. I'm not gonna sit here and list every song. Y'all heard the project, but I think in terms of hip hop, it was one of the best albums of this year, or the best in my opinion. So shout out to Lil Baby, like QC, Atlanta, like y'all are doing it, and y'all are making a lot of people proud who aren't even from Atlanta. So like, I definitely have to give my props to Lil Baby and his team. So
I love it. I just want to say that all of this is our opinion. Clearly, you know, there's probably people we left out. I know there's people we left out. Like, come on, honorable mention. Detroit 2, classic. I don't care. But it didn't make it to album.
I know, and the thing is, like I said, like a lot of these albums I listened to, but a lot of them I had to go back and revisit. So like I'm still in, you know, in tune with listening to these albums, still kind of listening to some stuff that are just my all-time faves. But I think I did leave Kali Uchis out, had a really dope project. Thundercat put out a project. I'm a huge fan of him. And there's one more person that I know I forgot, and it's gonna come to me when we're off the podcast. I'll be like, yo, I can't call myself a fan anymore. But yeah, so like everyone who dropped music this year, especially if you're a Black artist, especially if you're a Black woman artist. Meg, shout out to Meg for her debut. You know, like I'm showing love to everybody because I know it was just a really hard year. Even want to be in the mindset to like put out music and to share, you know, your gifts with the world at a time like this. So I just want to shout out to everyone, like I said, especially the Black artists. This is the African people only live stream site.
Where's the site? What you mean?
Nah, seriously.
What so Easter Rice said? We stand everybody Black. So
this is an African people's only live stream. So I'm serious. Like if you know me, like I'm huge on just Black artists and like us being able to have these conversations amongst other Black people, because we know a lot of the times, like in terms of the media, in terms of the label, like we aren't the ones having these conversations. We're not necessarily the ones setting the tone for a lot of this, but we really are, you know, in the real world. But you know, it's important that we have the space and platforms like yours, Alicia's, to discuss about our artists and about the impacts of the culture. So I just want to thank you for that, you know, before we wrap up.
Well, I'm excited because I know that this is going to be long, but it's worth listening to because I feel like we didn't just be like, oh, this was great. Like we gave good critical reasons for why these songs hit the mark for us. And like you said, I feel like 2020 was a rough year, and for people to come out with music at all is a feat on its own because knowing how the industry works and knowing how intricate everything has to be and how detailed and to the T it has to be before it comes out, I know that it was a hard venture for them. So I respect everybody that put out music because I know I couldn't do it. Wouldn't do it.
Exactly. And their teams, like
and their teams, yes. Shout out to everybody
in the industry, or still do. And it's just like, well, I was on the label side of things, now more on events, but like the teams are the real MVPs. Like they work really hard, and they also have families and like, you know, just other responsibilities in junction with, you know, putting out albums. And I know in a pandemic that had to be crazy. So just shout out to all the teams that worked on all these albums as well. So yeah.
Yes, okay. Before we go, you gotta let people know where to find you, where to keep up.
The sun done set and everything. But this was a great conversation. I just want to say thanks again, Alicia. Like I super, you know, just appreciate me being here and being able to chop it up with you. But of course, you can find me on Instagram, Eboni, Eboni. It's just Eboni, literally Eboni on Instagram. And then on Twitter, I'm Ebonita Applebaum, EBONITA. PPLEBUM. So that's my handle on Twitter and on Clubhouse. I'm in the Clubhouse streets. And on LinkedIn, I'm Ebony Dawn. So yeah, like you can find me anywhere. I make playlists, tap into my Apple Music. I have some playlists on Spotify and Tidal, but I honestly am gonna get way better about putting them on all platforms. And yeah, I have a lot of stuff planned for 2021. Like I said, I taught myself how to DJ this past year, so I'm gearing up to start releasing some mixes. So if you're listening and are into DJ mixes, like keep following me because I'm starting to put stuff out, like planning Q1 this year, like hopefully January.
Yes.
I'm probably ready to do stuff now. I'm just like I want to like get a lot more practicing in before I just jump out there. But like I'm excited. So this is great, you know, practice for me just being you know, more visible. But yeah, I really appreciate, you know, this time and this conversation, and it was a great wrap up to the year. So
Yes, I love it. And you know, we got to do our spiel real quick. You can follow us over on Instagram at the Lituation R Pod to keep up with everything. On Twitter, the Lituation RMP. You can also just go to our website, www.thelituationroompodcast.co, because we are a company, a movement, period. And you can find all the other episodes and all of our content, and just keep up with us, because just because this seems like it's the last episode, it's not.
I feel so honored to be the last. You
It's not.
saved the best for last. Don't forget.
Don't forget. But there's definitely more to come. 2021, especially around Black Music Month.
Okay, June.
Will be a amazing rollout. So just stay tuned. So just follow us so that you can stay up to date with what's coming, because it's gonna be great. But until then, see you guys in the next episode.
See you guys.